Welcome to the TTT News Special. I'm DK Ronstar. Now, to quote our guest, he has been recognized by some of the best artists and storytellers in the industry. And we'll find out what he means by that as we speak with Rajendra Ramkallawan. He's an illustrator, educator, and a vlogger. So, welcome, Rajendra. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I am doing great.
Now, I want to say congrats, but I don't want to say what I'm congratulating you for as yet. But I want to get a little into your history. Thank you. Let us jump up in your business. So, how long have you been a story artist?
I've been a story artist professionally for about, let's say, 5 to 6 years. Before that, I was like into comics, and before that, just just into art generally and drawing cartoons and stuff like that since I was pretty young. Yeah.
No, this is the part that I like to ask, because sometimes you hear people saying, okay, well, I was into this, but then you also hear some people, they don't go down that path, or they don't continue on that path because they were drawing in the school book, mommy or daddy beat them, or they were drawing on the wall, and that was discontinued forcefully with vigor. So how is it that you were able to go from very young to continuing where you've been able to be doing this professionally for 5 or 6 years?
I would say it's because I was lucky to have parents who didn't beat me when they saw the drawings. Instead, they encouraged me and sent me to art classes, helped me get into like any art programs to continue studying. I went to UB for visual arts, and I got my degree there. And then even after that, when I couldn't like get a job in art, like my parents still didn't like say, go get a real job. I told them I need to like keep pursuing my art, or like, doing small jobs for clients and stuff like that. And, that was like a really key thing, right? The parents not telling you to just go get a regular job like everyone else. They actually believed that I could, do this, and they supported me. And that support has finally paid off. So yeah.
And we're still not talking about it yet, but we want to thank your parents and that support system that you had. Because sometimes people say, okay, well, he'll grow out of it or she'll grow out of it. And then it may be saying, okay, well, no, but like they're taking this thing serious, and then they forcefully come in and say, no, well, you've had your fun, it's time to do this now. But with that in mind, though, what is the scope of animation, illustration of a story artist in this space specifically, or generally outside? What are the kind of things that a story artist would be responsible for?
Okay, so a story artist is something that a lot of people don't know what that is, because it's a role that's pretty much not glorified in terms of the art world, because the drawings aren't pretty. So basically what we do is we usually work in animation for TV or feature film. And what we do is we work in a department where we work close with the director and the writers and a bunch of other story artists. And what we do is we visualize the script. We turn the words into images to help the director visualize his movie and his vision. So we come up with all, the jokes, the gags, the cinematography and stuff like that. So if you don't like a movie, it's pretty much our fault.
but I like the fact, though, that you say, okay, well, we're taking it in basically words out of the air, of thin air, and putting it into a format that we say, okay, well, we can start to work from this. Because I've had the experience as well. I haven't been able to visualize something. But when somebody does a little sketch or stickman, and then I can say, okay, well, no, I want this a little taller. I want this a little longer. And you're able now to start tweaking because it's been kind of spoon-fed to you. Do you find that is your experience? Or what is the process of saying, okay, well, this is what the person is saying. This is what I suggest that it could look like.
Yeah, that's exactly the process, right? So when the director gets the script, right, we help him visualize the movie, right? And sometimes when we draw the images on the script, he might get ideas of like, I like this, I don't like this, maybe we could do it like this, right? And this process actually helps save money in the production because animation is really expensive. So if we could actually figure out the movie in just really quick sketches and figure out the story and do like the entire movie in just drawings, we could save a lot of money, you know, instead of just trying to animate it right from the script, right? Because, you know, in order to get it to that really beautiful 3D look that, you know, we often see in the cinema, you know, there's a lot of planning that goes in before that. Yeah.
I know you spoke about getting the idea from the writers on that end. What kind of workflow is there before you get it to the other animators? And also, not necessarily product placement, but what kind of tools do you use for the job?
Well, currently now in the industry, you would generally need to be, you know, very well versed in the digital equipment. So you would need like a very strong computer. You would need like a drawing tablet, like a Wacom tablet. You would need programs that the industry standards like Storyboard Pro or Photoshop, TV Paint, and all of those other programs. And you have to have a well-versed knowledge in these things. You would also need to have a knowledge of cinema and cinematic language. You would also need to know how to draw. You would need to know how to draw like pretty much everything, like not just people, but, you know, animals, cars, buildings, like everything you need to know how to draw to be a story artist.
And is there space for having an aesthetic? I want to ask this silly question so you could correct me from the ground up. So what does your aesthetic look like? Because I remember you gave the little warning that it mightn't look as pretty or it mightn't look as finished as the end result. So what, if you had to describe your style or your aesthetic, what would that be like?
I would describe it as loose, sketchy, and full of life. So the sketches that you have to draw, in particularly to be a story artist, is that you have to communicate the emotions of a character, how they are feeling, and the situations they are in very clearly to the director, right? So it's more about being very clear and you know, simple to communicate an idea. And we in this department, we don't worry about prettiness per se, but we worried about emotion, making the audience care about the characters, making you engaged with the film, right? And that may be, sometimes you have story artists drawing like stickmen, sometimes you have, you know, guys doing really loose drawings, and you know, we don't spend too much time on this because we have to figure out the scene, which is the most important thing. So,
and that brings me to a comment or a statement and then a question. There's a saying in Africa, the continent, that you don't measure a singer by how pretty they sing, but how effective they can bring that emotion or the meaning of the song across. And I want to ask you about emotion because I see it on your website, I also see it on your email. You link very closely emotion and illustration. What is the importance or the significance of that link?
I particularly use that because I think, you know, as a storyteller and as a filmmaker, you need to connect with your audience on an emotional level. And it's something that I connected with as an artist, especially why I got into this field, right? When I watch films or when I hear people talk about films, it's about taking them on an emotional roller coaster. It's about entertaining them. It's about making them feel happy, making them feel sad through the lens of a character on screen. So if your movie doesn't connect with your audience on an emotional level, you need to rethink your movie. You need to make it better because telling a story is all about connecting with your audience emotionally.
All right, on that note, we want to continue the story or the conversation with you, Rajendra Ramkallawan. And we haven't said why we're saying congratulations as yet, but we will do so when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with Rajendra Ramkallawan, and he is a story artist. And I think we can bust the news a little bit now, Rajendra. There's a connection now between you and Netflix. What is it?
I was recently, I like to say snatched up by Netflix, because they actually reached out to me to be part of the story team to help bring to life one of their films in development, feature films, animation film. And I'm going to be part of a team of story artists who I consider, superstars of the industry, to be working on this film. So, yeah.
And we say congratulations once more, big, big, big things. But the thing is, though, one of the things that makes this even more, I guess, important is the fact that you have done your studies, you have developed your skill set, you have built your capacity in Trinidad and Tobago. What are some of the pros and some of the challenges doing that and getting to where you are now?
I think one of some of the biggest challenges is that getting the proper education from the right people, right? So when I was growing up in high school and in university, the internet wasn't like super available with all this information and stuff, right? So being like in Trinidad and not having access to like the colleges and stuff, which are super expensive in America, they're like over like 100,000 US to go to these schools, right? So there's no way I could have gone to these schools. Like my parents couldn't pay for me. So you kind of have to take it upon yourself to kind of find the information that these students would be getting in these schools. And I kind of had to do my own reading, my own research, and trying and failing a lot for like over 10 years, just doing this, just hitting the grind. The good thing is now for people coming up is that the internet has made the world much smaller. And now you can actually connect with industry professionals. You can take their classes online much cheaper than actually going to colleges. You can network with, so many students around the world on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and just connect with people, learn from them, make friends, and, become part of this industry much, much easier than how it used to be just about 5 years ago.
And I'm wondering, though, Raj, whether or not part of the work that you've done and put into the universe and paid forward, because like you said, a lot of this information wasn't readily available. With the advent of digital platforms such as YouTube, and you've been able to help people who would have not had the information or a lot of that information if not for you. And I say that because of your YouTube channel. So do you think that Netflix would have had a lot more extensive idea of your work because they're seeing what it is you're about in terms of like you reaching out and helping people, interacting with people, giving ideas? Well, possibly you can do this, possibly you can use that.
I'm not sure. I haven't spoke to them about it, about me as in depth, but my YouTube channel, I actually started that in 2018 or 19, I think. And the reason why I did that is because I knew, for me, trying to get this information was super hard. Like it's super hard and it's super expensive, right? And if I could, share that knowledge with people who are just like me, because I know exactly how you feel. I know how you feel, like you're feeling left out, like if your parents can't afford like the education, like I know exactly how that feels. And like once I had this knowledge and once I felt I was good enough, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give out this information for free. And if you really want it, if you really know that you want to do this, you will appreciate those videos. You will do the assignments I give in those videos, even though they're free. Because I know sometimes because it's free, you mightn't take it seriously. But then I guess that's not for you. It's for somebody else. But I still put it out there because I know it could help somebody. And I don't have like millions of views, but there are a few people who comment on the videos and say, wow, this really helped. I didn't know this. And it might just be 4 people, and that's enough because like I'm just one person and I got into Netflix. So if one person else from somewhere could, use those videos and get in somewhere and help their dreams come true, like why not?
And as the son of educators, I think being able to teach and engage people with that kind of level of knowledge transfer, when people ask you a question and you need to go back and explain, that also helps you do what you do better. But that brings me to the comment, though, actually quoting you, saying that you help aspiring feature story artists improve their speed, clarity, compositions, and dynamic camera shots so that they can create a tailored portfolio. When you say portfolio, what do you mean, and why does it need to be tailored?
So apart from the free classes, so if you do those free classes and you still want to, get more mentorship, I offer like a personal mentorship, which you wrote there, right? So if people want to work with me one-on-one, they can work with me. And the reason I work with people one-on-one is because everyone has different dreams in this industry, right? Because there are different studios, there are different types of animation that comes out. Some are like, for kids, some are for adults, some are for features, some are for TV, right? And some people want to work for a particular studio. And each studio has a certain aesthetic and stuff they look for in story artists that they want to hire. So the reason why I say tailored portfolio is because if you know exactly what you want, let's say if you want to work for Disney, DreamWorks, Netflix, or whatever, it's good to narrow down your portfolio for a particular studio and focus on like trying to get in there. Because let's say a portfolio for kids shows is not going to get you a job on like a action adult show. So your portfolio really needs to be tailored for which studio you want to get into.
And now that you've made steps, because the journey of life is a series of steps, but this is a big step. And how much do you have to kind of prepare yourself? Because you said these are some of the people that you've wanted to work with. And how tough does your skin need to be able to have that communication and somebody say it's not pretty and I'm not getting the meaning? Try again, go back. So how is it that you're preparing yourself right now?
Well, over the years, I've developed a pretty thick skin. Because growing up, when you're young, you think you're special and you think you can draw until like you meet the professionals in the industry and they tell you, well, you need to work on this doesn't work, you need to work on this, right? And then you get a realization that you need to actually be way better than you need to be, right? So you really do need to have a super thick skin because and you can't fall in love with your work too much. Because as you said, you could spend a month on a sequence and the director says, well, I don't like this, do it over, right? And you just have to be like, okay, let's go again, right? So it's not like everything you do will get into the movie. Sometimes in being a story artist, you could work on like a whole movie and have no sequence get into the movie. But that doesn't mean you actually didn't contribute to the movie,
All right.
So you really have to have a thick skin.
And just before we go, Raj, I want to ask you, in the last 30 seconds, how do people contact you? How do people look at your work? How do people engage with you? And we spoke about the YouTube channel. What is the name of that platform?
I'm pretty much on all platforms. Instagram I use most frequently, Art of Raj. I'm also on Facebook as Emotion Illustration. If you want to follow my work on Facebook, you could follow me there. You could add me on LinkedIn if you're more professional. And you could also follow me on YouTube because, I have all my free classes on there. It's free. You just go click the videos and, watch all the videos and, have fun learning. You could, if you have any questions, like personal questions you want to ask me or any tips or anything, message me on Instagram, shoot me a DM, just say, hey, like, any advice, blah, blah, blah. I always try to answer like my DMs if there's like a genuine question from somebody in there.
And we thank you for that very much. According to someone I know, all you need to pay is attention. But congratulations once more, Rajendra Ramkallawan, and thank you. And we're looking for big things as you pave the way and show us what we're able and capable of doing. And on behalf of the entire news team, I'm DK Roster. Thank you for joining us.